कांग्रेस को पूछना चाहिए कि तुम्हारी क्या मजबूरी है कि सनातन के खिलाफ इतना जहर उगलने वाले लोगों के साथ तुम क्यों बैठे हो भाई? डीएमके का तो जन्म शायद इस नफरत में पैदा हुआ होगा।
Prime Minister Modi's sharp retort to Sanatan baiters says the DMK was born out of hatred for Sanatan. No relief for Liquorgate accused Arvind Kejriwal and K. Kavita as their judicial custody gets extended till the 23rd of April.
We found that this was a very disturbing trend. That whenever decision comes against you, you try to pressurize the court so that next decision is in your favor.
For the first time ever, judges unite against the lobby, call out attempts to pressurize the judiciary in another letter to the Chief Justice of India. India gets access to Indian crew on board seized Israeli ship in Iran as Jaishankar dials his Iranian counterpart. And Sarabjit's killer shot down on Pakistani soil, but Pak accuses India's intelligence agency of being involved in the killing. Ladies and gentlemen, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal or the Aam Aadmi Party cannot wash away the Liquorgate taint against his name anymore. Today, the jailed Delhi Chief Minister suffered back-to-back setbacks in two courts. On the one hand, the Delhi Rouse Avenue Court extended his judicial custody till the 23rd of April. And all he got in the end was a later date for the hearing. The Aam Aadmi Party has been alleging political vendetta. But he's got no quick relief from the Supreme Court either, which is going through the matter quite procedurally, as it should. Let's debate.
Two courts, one man. The focus was back on Delhi excise policy scam kingpin Arvind Kejriwal. It was another round of back-to-back setbacks for Arvind Kejriwal in two courts. On one hand, the Rouse Avenue Court extended his custody till April 23rd. On the other hand, the Apex Court refused an early hearing plea challenging ED's arrest. The Supreme Court gave the Enforcement Directorate time till April 27th to file its response to the AAP leader's petition. Liquorgate accused Arvind Kejriwal was arrested on March 21st, but his jail stay in Tihar will continue till April 23rd. While the Delhi court extended Kejriwal's judicial custody, Singhvi made some scathing submissions seeking an early hearing in the Supreme Court. During the hearing today, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, appearing for Mr. Kejriwal, told a bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Dipankar Datta he had facts to shock the conscience of the court. He also hit out at selective leaks all over the place to discredit the Chief Minister, an extremely short date to begin hearing the petition. The court, though, refused the plea. Earlier today, Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann also met Arvind Kejriwal in the Tihar jail. After the meeting, Mann claimed that Kejriwal wasn't given adequate facilities to meet his family members. Despite the Enforcement Directorate's kingpin tag and key conspirator tag on Kejriwal, Mann continues to decry the arrest, calling the Delhi Chief Minister कट्टर ईमानदार।
ये जो चीज है ये बहुत ही इनको महंगी पड़ेगी, क्योंकि अरविंद केजरीवाल जो कट्टर ईमानदार है, जिसने पारदर्शिता की राजनीति शुरू की, बीजेपी की राजनीति खत्म की, उनको ऐसे ट्रीट किया जा रहा है। आम आदमी पार्टी जो है एक सोच का नाम है। अरविंद केजरीवाल एक व्यक्ति को तो गिरफ्तार कर लोगे, सोच को कैसे करोगे?
आम आदमी पार्टी has also announced the phase 2 of jail का जवाब वोट से across 4 Lok Sabha constituencies of the national capital.
देखिए, लोकसभा चुनाव को लेकर के ऑलरेडी सभी राज्यों में कैंपेन चल रहा है। दिल्ली के अंदर भी जेल का जवाब वोट से कैंपेन शुरू हो चुका है। आसाम के अंदर भी हमारा कैंपेन चल रहा है। कुरुक्षेत्र के अंदर भी हमारा कैंपेन चल रहा है। अभी मान साहब का वहाँ रोड शो हुआ है।
For now, there is no relief for the Liquorgate accused Kejriwal. His Tihar stay will continue till April 23rd. Let's debate.
मुबारक हो, आपको बेटा हुआ है। बेटा पैदा होते ही चलने लगा। बेटा अंदर से आईआईटी क्रैक करके आया है।
जिया जी मुबारक हो, बेटा हुआ है।
हर मोमेंट को बनाए कमाल। वाह वाडेलाल।
इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सेल शुरू हो चुका है।
इससे बड़ा सेल शायद नहीं मिलेगा। टीवी, लैपटॉप, मोबाइल, फ्रिज, वॉशिंग मशीन, किचन अप्लायंसेस, सब पे पाइए बेस्ट डील्स सिर्फ रिलायंस डिजिटल के डिजिटल डिस्काउंट डेज में।
But let's stay with facts and public record. I'm not surprised as a lawyer that at the outcome of the case, because of what is in public domain in the judgment of the Supreme Court in the Sisodia case. So I'm hardly surprised that the court has issued notice and will hear the ED. And I think it's a good message that nobody is above the law. A person who skips summons 8 times, whoever he may be, has to be viewed dimly, purely as a matter of a judicial approach to grant of bail. Because the basis of our constitution is, however high you may be, the law is above you. If each of us were to become judges in our own cause and decide whether we will or will not obey a summon or whether we will or will not obey an order of the court, then we are heading to anarchy. So we start from there, and it has gone on predictable lines as far as I'm concerned. There is no, as far as the court is concerned, you can make whatever political allegations you want to make, but as far as the court is concerned, there is no decision in this entire string of cases which has really taken me by surprise.
Mr. Salve, the argument, first of all, has been made very strongly here that approvers mean nothing. Approvers amount to nothing. Even if the approver is someone you have worked with very closely, who's aware of the complexities of the case, they're saying approvers mean nothing. You can put pressure on anyone and make him or her an approver in the eyes of the law. That's a political argument made. That seems to be about 75% of the argument so far that the AAP is presenting in Mr. Kejriwal's defense.
It is true that the court would view the evidence of an approver carefully. But that would firstly be at the stage where he's being made an approver. Secondly, Arnab, unlike cases which are now argued on TV channels and on Twitter, in a court of law, the court would first see on what the approver has said. I don't know what the approvers have said in this case, but let me give you a theoretical example. Suppose the approver said, I met Mr. X at his house on so-and-so date at 9 o'clock, which he earlier denied doing. And now he produces a WhatsApp message in a second phone, which he had not disclosed, which shows that he met the person. Will you discredit that evidence merely because he's an approver? If the approver says, okay, earlier I told you I have no idea, now I'm telling you, here is a check, here is a bank account, here is a trace of funds which moved from account A to account B. You go and see that the funds have indeed moved from account A to account B. You still discredit it just because earlier he had lied and said, I have nothing to do with this. So, these generalizations that don't believe approvers. Yes, why does a person become an approver? Your first attempt is to run from the law. When that doesn't work, you realize the options against you are closed. Nirav Modi's sister has turned approver. Did she turn approver day one? No. Why did she support him in trying to launder his money? She did as a sister. When the heat got too much, she said, okay, I turn approver because I don't want to go down for somebody else. So there are reasons and reasons why people turn approvers. And this kind of a broadside saying, just because somebody is an approver and made one statement earlier, now is making another statement, is something which the court, I'm sure, considered and dealt with.
The other argument, Mr. Salve, is that Mr. Kejriwal says he is not directly involved in the framing of the policy. The argument being made is simply a little bit like saying, yes, there was a policy. The policy led to somebody profiting. The state exchequer did not gain much. Private people profited. Yes, somebody made 338 crores. But it doesn't mean that I'm corrupt. Because there's no paper to prove that I was the one who was signing off on the decision. It doesn't matter if there are any number of people who come later and say I as chief minister had direct role in it. Because I'm a chief minister without portfolio, I don't sign off on things, and hence there is no question of personal culpability.
So, Arnab, there's one thing which I've noticed. I was watching, in fact, your channel. Let's not confuse between two independent offenses. Every time you hear the argument, where is the money trail? There are two independent offenses. One is corruption, the other is money trail. Corruption, prima facie, which the Supreme Court found in Sisodia, is, to put it in one sentence, a 70 crore license fee. You charge 70 crore license fee, and you justified increasing the wholesale margin from 5 to 12%, saying that they have to pay 70 crore license fee. But in 10 months, those people who paid 70 crores license fee earned 500 crores. So they said, prima facie, you acted in a manner which caused a loss to the state and a gain to a private person. That's corruption. Was this policy done? It was a far-reaching policy. Was the decision taken without the involvement of the chief minister? It is for anybody to know. It's hard to believe, but we don't know what the truth is. So the second is, has the money which was taken as a kickback been found? It may never be found. Does it? It may, somebody who's being hauled up purely for moving funds around may get off the hook if the money is not found. But somebody who's guilty of corruption, because don't forget, under the Prevention of Corruption Act, it is not necessary to prove somebody received a bribe. It is enough if you show somebody acted in a dishonest manner.
In the Sisodia.
Sisodia, Chief Minister, all
the Sisodia case, in the Justice Khanna,
that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
If you read that carefully,
in the Manish Sisodia bail order,
where he says there is no trail of money.
The para 7 of the Supreme Court judgment which denied bail to Sisodia. No, in para 7 of the Supreme Court judgment denying bail to Sisodia, it says, and I quote, a conspiracy was entered vis-a-vis the new excise policy to enable supersized profits for wholesale distributors in return for kickbacks and bribes. Now, the conspiracy part is understood. Kejriwal's point is that the bribe has not got into my bank account.
Need not.
You have no specific evidence to prove that the bribe came to me.
Maybe he got nothing.
That's the point they're repeating ad nauseum.
So that's the money laundering part. If he has pocketed the money, that becomes laundering money. In fact, for him, it would not even be laundering. He'd be the prime recipient of the bribe. So let me just explain to you and for your viewers, Arnab, let's get this clear. A is a government servant, B is a businessman. B corrupts A by giving him 100,000 rupees or 1 million rupees or $1 million. A has taken a bribe from B. That's not money laundering. He has received the bribe. That's his offense. You may be able to show that A has done something to benefit B. And the law presumes that if you have acted dishonestly to benefit a private interest, money must have been paid. The reason why the law went beyond physical bribes to acts of dishonesty which benefit private interests is because common course of human conduct, you would do it only for a bribe. The money laundering comes later. So A receives $1 million from B for doing an illegal act. A then gives it to C. And C, who has had nothing to do with this corrupt transaction, takes A's money and puts it in a property in his own name. C is guilty of laundering because what he's trying to do is he's trying to change the color of that money. So money laundering is different from corruption, and corruption with the allegation which lies at the door of Mr. Sisodia. I assume that's the same allegation being taken, that the chief minister and the deputy chief minister conspired to make this policy. If the chief minister says he had no role to play in a policy of this magnitude,
conspiracy a charge? Yeah, is conspiracy a charge, Mr. Salve, for the ED or for the CBI to look at?
Both.
In a case such as this, I'm reading.
Yes, let me give you where it comes from. The allegation is Mr. Chief Minister, Mr. Deputy Chief Minister, and one or two ministers conspired with a group of businessmen to come up with a policy very favorably, which will be very favorable to a group of people who will raise monies out of it. That's your allegation of corruption. Who all collaborated in that act, civil servants who were parties to that decision making, are all conspirators of the act of corruption. Then comes the laundering. The money is, as the allegation runs, the money was paid by the wholesalers who made the bribe. They paid X, X paid Y, Y paid Z. Somebody had given an advance for some election, that got set off. That's the trail of money. Everybody who has touched that money and allowed it to move becomes guilty of an offense for money laundering. He may have no knowledge of where the money came from, just knowing that it has come from some naughty business in Delhi. But he helps in passing the money around. That's money laundering. So let's keep the two separately. Yes, ED is investigating the money laundering aspect, but these are not, as far as the primary people are concerned, these are not in separate compartments. That's why Supreme Court refused bail to Sisodia.
So, the courts seem to be pretty convinced of the evidence that they have. What do you think of what the High Court said when it said that there is prima facie the evidence is incriminating qua the petitioner?
See, I'll tell you,
a very
the
serious
law
point that was made because obviously the courts have looked at the evidence and then come to the conclusion.
Yeah, under our code of criminal procedure, the police cannot grant you pardon. A pardon is granted by executive clemency. Approvership is where the police takes a witness to a magistrate. The police officer steps out. He confesses to the magistrate. He tells the magistrate has to be satisfied, prima facie, that this is a genuine confession. He is being contrite. He is coming out with the truth, and taking him, rather than prosecuting him, taking him as a witness for the prosecution is going to help prosecuting a larger group. For example, in theory, if Sisodia turned approver against Kejriwal, maybe the court may not allow it because he will say both of you, public interest demands both of you be prosecuted. But if a smaller fry in the whole process says, okay, I'll come out with the truth and tell you the truth, the court is the final arbiter of should the person be given pardon, treated as an approver, so that he comes on as a witness to prosecute the main people in the conspiracy. Now, these are judicial decisions. These are judicial decisions. These are not taken in the ED head office. ED may agree to treat somebody as an approver, but it is the court who has to approve. That's why I think that some Delhi High Court took some umbrage at the vocabulary used against the approver's statements.
But then, if the court also, if the Supreme Court tomorrow does not give bail to Arvind Kejriwal in this case, look at the situation that we have here, Mr. Salve. The court does not give bail to Kejriwal. Suppose the Supreme Court also takes the view that yes, there is a fair amount of evidence and we cannot at this stage disregard the evidence. And if the evidence, as the High Court says, is incriminating vis-a-vis Arvind Kejriwal, then the Supreme Court is unlikely to take a different view. In that case, what's the lookout? Delhi is not going to have a chief minister. We're going to run the government from Tihar jail. This is what the people of Delhi are looking at. And what kind of precedent is that setting for the rest of the country?
Well, I have only two comments to make, one serious and one humorous. If you remember back in the day, we used to have the Yes Minister and the Yes Prime Minister series, which showed the battle between the civil servants and the politicians. And the civil servants, those were British civil servants, always maintained that the government would run much better if the minister stayed at home. So, will Delhi run without a chief minister? I don't know. Is the chief minister superfluous in Delhi? I don't know. Secondly, I've heard this argument that there is no constitutional bar. Well, there is something called the silence of the Constitution. Did the Constitution makers ever contemplate that a popular leader who is found prima facie guilty of a serious offense would be denied bail and would yet want to govern the state? I don't think the founding fathers ever thought of this. That's why they didn't provide a detail. Of course, on conviction, you lose your seat. But what should be the position in the interim is a matter of personal conscience and propriety.
I think you do throw it back well there. Mr. Salve, you've given some very solid perspective on this case, and let's see what happens after the 23rd. Matter is going procedurally, but this gives us some fresh perspective on this. Harish Salve, thank you very much as always for throwing light on this with me this evening. Thank you so much. That's Harish Salve, ladies and gentlemen. I would consider him the last word. He's speaking on issues of constitutionality, but also tonight he's spoken on issues of political propriety and morality. On the political debate this evening, Ajay Alok versus Anmol Pawar, BJP versus AAP. See, Anmol, there are serious issues involved. And, obviously, even the Supreme Court will look at the evidence that is available and decide how to respond. If the case did not have any merit, then it would not even proceed procedurally right now. And you just heard Mr. Salve as well. You can hear me, Anmol. So, last time I told you the High Court is pretty much convinced about the evidence against Kejriwal. Time has come for you to take a decision because public sympathy is not going to build up if the courts aren't going to support you. And the courts are showing no intention of supporting you yet.
Arnab, the fact is that Mr. Kejriwal is not named in the ECIR, which in criminal jurisprudence is FIR. No charge sheet has been filed. Even the trial has not commenced. There's no corroborative evidence. And Mr. Salve forgot to inform the viewers that approvers come into scene when there's dearth of evidence. There are hundreds of judgments of the Honorable Supreme Court. The Honorable Supreme Court, while granting bail to Mr. Sanjay Singh, categorically said that there's no trace of proceeds of money. Not a single penny has been recovered in last 2 years after more than 500 raids. And the second point, I was hearing him very patiently. And the second point which he failed to inform the viewers is that the constitution framers did not even contemplate that there will be a so-called Premier Agency Enforcement Directorate which will work at the behest of Bharatiya Janata Party, which will work as a frontal organization of the central government. And without a shred of evidence, put a popular 3-time sitting chief minister.
See, all of this is not working.
Delhi model of governance.
All of this is not getting you any sympathy.
Even this was not contemplated.
No, all of this is not going to get you any sympathy.
Arnab, the
Louder,
people
please.
of Delhi are with us.
See, all of this is not going to get you any sympathy. Ajay Alok is on the debate right now. See, if the courts till now, my point being, Anmol,
they can see the nefarious designs of Enforcement Directorate and Bharatiya Janata Party.
Yeah. See, Anmol, I'll tell you one thing. You have thrown everything at the court, every piece of evidence. Why are the courts not moved? Ajay Alok, the fact is, viewers, if there was any observation from the court till now saying that the situation, Kejriwal has been dealt with unfairly, there isn't enough evidence, he should not have been arrested, the arrest was not necessary, or question the timing of the arrest, then the sympathy could have moved your way, but it's going in the opposite direction. Ajay Alok.
Not at all, Arnab, not at all.
Arnab, the problem here is, we used to know that there is a difference between thief and a politician. But a new chronology has been framed by Mr. Arvind Kejriwal that the politician can be a bigger thief than the normal thief. And it's a shameless blot on our democracy that a chief minister is not resigning even after being in jail for almost a month now. Within 6 days it will be a month and he has not resigned. So he has created a new benchmark in Indian democracy. Look, there are 4 P's in corruption. There are 4 important P's in corruption which a chief minister can enjoy and easily enjoy. First is power, preference, privilege and payment. And he has enjoyed everything. He had the power, he had the preference whom to give the liquor contract to. He had the privilege of doing that and he had received the payment. The kickbacks are there, the evidence are there, everything is being nailed, and then also this Aam Arajak party shamelessly defends Arvind Kejriwal. And in the process, they have lost the entire credibility of theirs. Of course, they have been losing it for the last 2.5 years. Because they are innova of corruption. The new ideas of corruption keeps on propping them. And look, this is only one. This liquor scam is only one of them. Now there is the Jal Board scam, which CBI is already investigating. There is the inferior medicine scam, which is also being investigated. There is a Naukri scam, which is also being investigated. Say everything, ये तो कुछ नहीं है जी, हमें फंसाया जा रहा है जी, हम तो ऐसे नहीं हैं जी, कट्टर ईमानदार हैं हम जी. अरे जी तो वही जी कहता था.
बिल्कुल है जी, कट्टर ईमानदार है, कट्टर देशभक्त है. आपकी तरह देश बेच नहीं रहे हम.
अरे कट्टर बेईमान है आप लोग.
ये रहे
आप कट्टर बेईमान है आप लोग, कट्टर बेईमान. ईमानदारी से आपका दूर तक संबंध नहीं है.
करोड़ का घोटाला किया,
ईमानदारी से दूर तक का संबंध नहीं है आप लोग.
उनकी आंखों में आंखें डाल के पूछो क्यों ने पार्टी में लिया, क्यों राज्यसभा में.
अपने ही बातें सुन लिया करो.
65 साल बाद इस देश में एक ऐसा व्यक्ति आया है
बोलते थे अपनी बातें सुनो,
मुफ्त शिक्षा,
शर्म आ जाएगी. शीशा देखोगे शीशा टूट जाएगा.
और वर्ल्ड क्लास एजुकेशन प्रोवाइड की है.
शीशा देखोगे शीशा टूट जाएगा शर्म के मारे.
सपनों को पूरा किया है.
अरे वर्ल्ड क्लास एजुकेशन कौन सी है?
आप you are scared of the Delhi model of governance.
You are teaching corruption to other people.
With a model which is showing direction to the country.
To India.
Free
ये नए तरीके हैं corruption करने के.
Supply.
You are teaching corruption to other India people who are running other states. These are new ideas of corruption. Utilize them. Arvind Kejriwal is now regularly taking tuitions in Tihar.
Anmol, I want to read out. One second. I just want to read out on my new Motorola phone some Motorola tweets. And let me read out a couple of the tweets. Anmol, 1 minute. Vijay Nakhasi says it is essential for leaders to address such issues transparently and effectively maintain trust and integrity. Gurleen Kaur says, everyone on please. Gurleen Kaur says, everyone can be on please. AAP should stop showing Kejriwal as a martyr. Srinivas Reddy Gondesi says, Kejriwal, who once projected himself as a crusader against corruption, is himself allegedly charged for the liquor scam. He has no moral responsibility to hold his constitutional post as chief minister. And it appears to be a lot of people moved by the views of Harish Salve earlier today. And even Anmol should take a little bit of, have a little bit of respect for the views that people like Harish Salve put your way. Sometimes it comes forth as advice. You should listen to it. The question here is now.
Arnab, I'll respond.
Please, Anmol, you have to learn to answer questions. I am asking a question. You answer the question. Don't try to make suo moto comments. Listen. No, you don't know the question. You can't answer without listening to the question. You listen to my question and then ask. Listen to me very, very clearly out here. The question is, why was the Supreme Court not listening to you? The Supreme Court was not listening to you. Your lawyer, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, tried to get a shorter date. He said the same things that you said. The petitioner is not named in the ECIR. There were 16 statements, 10 by Sharath Reddy, 6 by others. One statement becomes positive. The same arguments. There is nothing new. Ajay, do you get my point? Every single point that is made by Anmol Pawar is a simple summary of the points made by Abhishek Manu Singhvi. My question to you is, why was the Supreme Court not moved by the arguments that were made by your lawyer Abhishek Manu Singhvi? Why was the Supreme Court not moved? Why did they not give a shorter date? Why did they decline Singhvi's argument? Why are you not getting relief from?
सिग्नेचर जो एक नया स्टाइल बनाए. Signature, a premium product from Dilbagh.
No legal April and the Enforcement Directorate has to file a reply within 2 weeks.
Let him.
It was not heard on merits today. It will be heard on 29th of this coming month. And the fact is that same bench passed similar observations while granting bail to Mr. Sanjay Singh. But the case, when it reached the Honorable Supreme Court on 2nd of March 2024, the entire case was demolished by the Honorable Supreme Court. The observations were made that if the Enforcement Directorate fights the case on merits, then the Honorable Supreme Court will be bound to make observations as per the mandate of Section 46 of PMLA Act, stating that even prima facie offence is not being made out. And they also very categorically stated that no proceeds of money has been traced and not a single penny has been recovered. And I think it is for Mr. Alok to answer.
Your lawyer has already said it in the court.
Salve very patiently. Arnab, Mr. Salve just said that whatsoever amount has been reached to whosoever person, the ED must investigate, and that is a part of money laundering. 60 crore rupees has been traced to Bharatiya Janata Party, which has been given as bribe by P. Sharad Reddy. Now, why is it that Enforcement Directorate is not arresting JP Nadda ji? Why double standards? If there's a clear proof, if the data is published by the SBI on the direction
why you are jumping guns? Stick to Arvind Kejriwal.
If the trace of money has been
stick to the biggest corrupt Arvind Kejriwal.
Then why is it that ED is not arresting the officials of Bharatiya Janata Party?
The money trail has been established.
Why such double
And your
standards?
lawyer in the court said, where is the money? We have spent it in the Goa polls. This is the statement made by your lawyer. Where is the money? We have spent it in the Goa polls. And that's why Raghav Chadha is not coming back. क्या बात कर रहे हो? जरा लॉ बाइट्स का देख लो, लॉ बाइट्स का निकाल के देखिए, आपके वकील ने बोला।
जवाब दे पाएंगे आप? क्षमता है आप में जवाब देने की, सवाल की?
मैं क्या दूंगा जवाब? आपको देना है
की बात आप मान लीजिए। उन्होंने कहा है अगर एक भी पैसा किसी के पास जाता है,
अनमोल इस वक्त तो जवाब आपको देना है, क्योंकि मैं देखिए एक मिनट अनमोल एक मिनट अनमोल मेरी बात सुनिए, मैं अगला ट्वीट पढ़ रहा हूँ, एक मिनट अनमोल। ओके Siva Kumar Dattu Tadepalli says, everybody on please, government can't be run from jail. The constitution did not create explicit prohibition keeping the draconian British rule in mind. Hence it doesn't mean in normal civic life jail ruling can be allowed. Customary precedence is to resign. Customs are part of law. Absolutely, I agree with you, Shiva Kumarji. I think the conventions are created by the way the political parties respond in situations such as this. And Dolly Bhatia says, never seen such shameless liars of AAP defending the indefensible. Anmol, leave all this aside. If the Supreme Court also says, like the High Court has said, that there are prima facie strong evidence against Kejriwal, what will you do then? I don't think the Supreme Court is going to view the evidence any differently from the way the High Court has looked at it. If the Supreme Court also makes the same observations against Arvind Kejriwal, that there is prima facie evidence that he has been leading a conspiracy, what will you do? Yes. Louder.
No, what if the Honorable Supreme Court says that on our directions a data was published and 60 crore rupees were transferred from the alleged kingpin of the liquor scam P. Sharad Reddy to Bharatiya Janata Party. Go and book Mr. JP Nadda. फिर क्या होगा? फिर आप क्या कहेंगे?
How long will you avoid answering questions? How long? Let Ajay respond to that.
And how long will the BJP spokesperson will avoid answering?
How long can your party stop answering questions?
It's been more than 25 days.
Is JP Nadda the mastermind of Liquorgate, or is Arvind Kejriwal the mastermind of Liquorgate? Who is the mastermind of Liquorgate? No. Who is the mastermind of Liquorgate?
No. JP.
Who is the mastermind of Liquorgate?
He is the mastermind of Liquorgate.
JP Nadda didn't form the.
Who is the mastermind?
दलाली दी है भारतीय जनता पार्टी को. जवाब देना ये. जवाब दें आज देश को.
Oh, now you accept there was a Liquorgate. Earlier you were not expecting.
भाई साहब जब तक जवाब नहीं दोगे हम पूछते रहेंगे.
Accepting.
We will expose each and every spokesperson of BJP.
JP Nadda took the policy back. What expose?
Then why did JP Nadda take 60 crore bribe? बताइए ना देश को. 60 करोड़ रुपए की रिश्वत क्यों दी आपने?
You don't have any shame left.
जवाब नहीं है आपके पास.
कोई शर्म नहीं बची.
रोज एक्सपोज होते रहते हो.
जवाब
है ही नहीं आपके पास, आप दे ही नहीं पाओगे जवाब।
थेथर है आप।
आपकी सच्चाई देश के सामने आ चुकी।
सर फोड़ने का कोई फायदा नहीं। अर्नब, लेट हिम स्पीक मोर एंड मोर।
कट्टर ईमानदार, कट्टर देशभक्त आदमी को आपकी जेल की सलाखें ज्यादा दिन नहीं रख पाएंगी।
How cheap they are. They are not political party. They are a corrupt company. They are a group of thugs. They are a group of thugs.
Anmol, it is not going to work. Anmol, you are constantly giving yourself certificates. It will not work. Anmol, I will call you back on the day the Supreme Court takes a decision on it. And if the Supreme Court also says that there is prima facie evidence against your leader, Arvind Kejriwal, then you have to answer very differently. You cannot then start attacking the Supreme Court order. Also, your options would have run out. I thank you, Anmol and Ajay. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now moving on to a very, very important subject, which is the letter I have in my hand. For the first time, a coalition of 21 retired judges from the Supreme Court and High Courts have written this letter to the Chief Justice of India. They have expressed serious concern over the mounting efforts in their view by certain factions to undermine the judiciary through orchestrated pressure, misinformation and public criticism. They allege that the motives behind these actions as being driven by narrow political agendas and personal gains, aiming to erode public trust in the judicial system. Now, viewers, is there an attempt to undermine the judiciary? The Supreme Court is coming under major controversy repeatedly. And there are people who believe that there is a certain lobby of 4 or 5 or 6 lawyers supported by a group of the media who try to target and embarrass the judiciary. And though, of course, the judiciary is never going to admit it, it is possible prone at least to being, if not influenced, it can get affected. Its judgments may not be affected. But the idea is that let's put pressure on the judiciary, let's undermine the judiciary, let's get articles written, let the lobby of the media work against the judiciary and hope that builds considerable pressure on the Supreme Court judges. Now, what is important about today's letter, Sohail and Kapil are joining me right now. What is important about today's letter are the signatories. You see, this controversy, Sohail, has been brewing for a while. Is there an attempt at putting pressure on the judiciary? But now it's very different. It's not just citizens, it's not eminent citizens, ex-bureaucrats, or just top jurists. Former Supreme Court judges themselves are writing to Chandrachud. Former High Court judges and Supreme Court judges are writing to Justice Chandrachud saying that we, a collective of retired judges from the Supreme Court and High Court, are taking this moment to write to you, drawing upon our years of service and experience within the judiciary to express our shared concern regarding the escalating attempts by certain factions to undermine the judiciary through calculated pressure, misinformation and public disparagement. Sohail, this is happening at a time of elections. And we all know, let's not try to, beat around the bush. The fact is that there is a pressure being built by certain members of the lobby as critical cases become before the Supreme Court. Whether it's the Kejriwal case, whether it be any other case, whether it's the electoral bonds case, build pressure, build criticism. If the court does not judge your way, say the court is not doing enough. Target the Chief Justice. It's happening repeatedly, but now that former judges are writing about it, what's your thought? I think there's... Yeah, what's your take? Sohail.
A couple of views here. Number one, the undermining of the judiciary is reprehensible in any democracy, especially when you choose to denigrate them at a moment of your choice. I've often said, when the government loses in court, we talk about democracy being back. When the government wins in court, we say, oh my God, democracy in this country is over because this pillar has also collapsed. Number two, there's a lot of noise, Arnab, on social media, which denigrates the judiciary, which almost seems to be like a herd mentality. It's mob lynching. There's nothing else. It's a lynch mob that has come up and about trying to tell judges that, oh, this is how we think of you. But the third point is even more important. This pressure is not from outside alone, Arnab Goswami. This pressure is from within the bar. This pressure is from a select bunch of lawyers who have no income, no work, except to abuse the judiciary every day. They talk about, they blackmail the judiciary, they denigrate the judiciary, they cast aspersions on its integrity and independence, and they get away because they are members of the bar. What do you do to that? And you know that their agendas are clear. Some people were part of one common man's party who are no longer part of that party, constantly abusing. You have former presidents of bar associations constantly abusing. What do you do about that? The fourth is that the government has in many ways allowed this nonsense to happen, and I'll explain to you how. Aam Aadmi Party or the incarceration of Arvind Kejriwal is a judicial matter. Every time they discuss the matter, and it is not in court, they say, oh, it's political vendetta. But for God's sake, the courts have extended his incarceration. The courts have denied him bail. The courts have denied Satyendra Jain bail. The courts have denied Manish Sisodia bail. The same court that threw the electoral bonds out, at that time the courts were independent. At that time the courts were full of democracy and democratic values. But today they're not. I mean, it's the goose and the gander story. It is tragic that we are allowing this farce to play out. And I'm delighted that the judges have written. What is sad is that after a long time, you have an excellent Chief Justice of India in D.Y. Chandrachud. A man of letters, a man whose integrity is unimpeachable, a man who is wise. For him to have to suffer, and his brother and sister judges to have to suffer this constant abuse is tragic and uncalled for in every which way. I don't know how this is going to stop. I'm glad you're doing a program, Arnab.
Is this
because this is not about pressurizing the court.
People don't want to talk about it. The problem
also
with the media, Sohail, is that anything which is
freedom. That's
around lawyers, anything around the Supreme Court, lawyers, judges, the media also tends to sort of avoid it, saying let's not get into this area. We don't want to be seen to be speaking for or against the Supreme Court. But I consider it my responsibility to speak about it because, of course, pressure is being put. And then people like Kapil Madan or others will say, why are you assuming that the courts would come under pressure? I'm not assuming. I am assuming that there are attempts by certain groups to put pressure. I am not assuming that they will come under pressure. But that must not be denied. I can give umpteen examples of the same. And, yes, Kapil, you want to come in on it? Can you unmute yourself?
Arnab, let me just first decode this entire controversy and I will tell your viewers a quick sequence of events. When the electoral bond judgment happened, none other than Mr. Adish Agarwala wrote a letter to the president seeking that this judgment should be set aside, knowing fully well that this is not the procedure prescribed under the law, not in the constitution, on any of the law related books. But then again he wrote a letter. Thereafter, during the electoral bond hearing subsequently, he again mentioned and he was reprimanded by none other than Honorable Chief Justice of India. And he himself was the signatory of an identical letter which was earlier written by a group of lawyers, including Mr. Harish Salve, who was there on your show, at 9 p.m. And also this letter was supported by none other than our Honorable Prime Minister because he himself tweeted. So now tell me one thing, even anyone looking at the sequence of events would know that this letter is being orchestrated by none other than the incumbent central government because the Honorable Prime Minister.
I think you should take that back. I mean, if you're trying to say that Harish Salve and Justice Deepak Verma, former Supreme Court judge, Justice Krishna Murari, former Supreme Court judge, Justice Dinesh Maheshwari, former Supreme Court judge, Justice M.R. Shah, Justice M.R. Shah, former Supreme Court judge, are part of an orchestrated attempt. I mean, I think you're running foul of decency, man. Yes.
No, Arnab.
No, it's unfair of you to say the former Supreme Court judges are part of a conspiracy.
Arnab, I know that. I am decoding this entire fallacious, premise of this debate. And now let me tell my, second argument. Now, I would ask one question. I've heard one of the signatory of this letter, Justice retired S.N. Dhingra, who very clearly said when the honorable judges made a reference in a Patanjali case that I will rip you apart, though it was an oral observation. He said that the judges are not acting partially. So, and he mentioned that the judges should act impartially. So, by this letter, what you are trying to portray, writing of this letter is itself is an exercise to create this kind of a narrative against the judiciary. But I must tell you that our judiciary is independent. Our judiciary,
how is the letter? Is the letter aimed at creating a narrative against the judiciary? I'm sorry, Kapil, because you will not end. I will come in and I will have to lower your fader for a while. The point is 1 minute. Kapil, you will have to be brief. Thank you. Kapil, you will have to be brief. See, listen. I think you should support the letter. Anmol should also support the letter. See, Anmol, I'll tell you why. Whatever case you have, for example, you as in Arvind Kejriwal, the courts are absolutely clear about which way they stand. And eventually, Anmol, can you hear me? I'm saying eventually the courts will go by merit. What anybody says or doesn't say does not matter. Or what is published in a few legal websites does not matter. The judgments of the court have lasting significance. So Anmol, have you read this letter? Yeah, I can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself? I can't hear you at all.
I don't think he can hear the fact that he needs to unmute himself. So it's a double whammy.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear me. Anmol, can you hear me, Anmol? I'll try once more, Sohail. Anmol,
No,
can you
use
hear
sign
me?
language.
No, I think he's not trying to avoid it out there. Point being, I think Sohail, I think, there's a problem with the connection. You see, viewers, this is a very serious matter. No, but Sohail, if Supreme Court judges are themselves writing, if Supreme Court judges, Sohail, stop it, it's too funny. If Supreme Court judges have themselves started writing to Justice Chandrachud, saying don't come under pressure, obviously all of these former Supreme Court judges of Mumbai High Court, former judges of Delhi High Court, Rajasthan High Court, Jharkhand High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court, Allahabad High Court, Uttarakhand High Court, Supreme Court of India, all of them are people of tremendous experience. And they are trying to ring fence because they know that, lawyers and jurists and others associated with Aam Aadmi Party or your supporters will try to put pressure. They are trying to ring fence the Supreme Court against that kind of pressure. Anmol.
So let's take Kapil Madan's point on board. Let's imagine whatever Kapil has said is true.
No, let's get Anmol's response and then hear from you.
Arnab, the fact...
based on central government advice. Let's imagine that is
Arnab,
true.
the fact is that out of 23,790 sitting judges and 50,000 retired judges and out of 20 lakhs advocates, I just got to know that some 21 judges, honorable judges and few advocates have written a letter. But I must say that the Honorable Supreme Court is capable enough to withstand any pressure and any media trial. So I think it's not a matter of concern. We have full faith in the law of the land.
That's it. That's it. No. So that is an admission. No. You put the pressure and then you say the Supreme Court should be strong enough to withstand it. Sohail, last word.
No. Kapil Madan's point that, the central government has weighed in and all that, to my mind is a bit, whether it's true or not, to my mind it's a bit far-fetched because these are not people who would want a sinecure or want something from the government. I don't think Harish Salve either has the time or the influence over these people to say, okay, all you guys write a letter. Let's imagine if all that had happened. I want to ask two questions. Number one, as the gentleman from Aam Aadmi Party said more courageously than I'd imagined, would you want the judiciary to be undermined in the manner it's being undermined? Do you really feel proud to be an advocate in this judicial system of India where day in and day out people are manipulating the judiciary? Kapil, tell me, do you really believe that a very senior lawyer who I have a lot of respect and time for...
Suhail, are you questioning the wisdom of Honorable Chief Justice of India? Do you think he will succumb under pressure of few advocates?
I'm not talking to you. When I need your advice, I'll wrap
you. No, but answer my question now.
No, I'm speaking to Kapil. I'll come to you later. I was the one who signaled to you to start, so don't stop. Now, let me just tell you one last thing, Kapil.
No, but
you heard what Mr. Kapil Sibal said.
The voice was not clear.
Full court. Kapil Sibal said this is not going to be remembered as the golden period of the judicial. That's what Kapil Sibal said. You know that there have been enough discussions about the Supreme Court, about the Chief Justice, about judges. There have been innuendos on social media that, oh, if this bail is before a particular lady judge, that bail will be denied. Do you deny that this is going to dent the judiciary? Simple question.
Let me make a very clear and a very simple answer.
No.
Arnab, you must not allow.
I have to close. I'm totally short of time. I'll come back to that. No. I think the letter, I'm going to put it out on republicworld.com. You can take it forward from there. Viewers, on the other side, the big story over the weekend has been the Iran versus Israel escalation of conflict. We have voices from the ground when I'm back.
Kane, sir, your dinner.
On a tile?
It's antibacterial.
Scratch resistant also. But plates?
Kane bhai, it's a tile ad.
IM Plus technology से बने world class tiles. Tile हो तो simple हो.
In just a decade, India has transformed into a digital powerhouse. From classrooms to clinics, farms to finance, digitalization is revolutionizing every aspect of life. To celebrate the makers and shakers behind Digital India and India's phenomenal digital yatra, Republic Business is delighted to bring its inaugural Republic Business Emerging Tech Awards.
Kane, sir, your dinner.
On a tile?
It's antibacterial.
Easy to clean.
But plates?
Kane bhai, it's a tile ad.
IM Plus technology से बने world class tiles. Tile हो तो simple हो.
Tonight, Iran launched a large-scale of coordinated attack on Israel. The regime in Iran fired a massive swarm over 200 killer drones, cruise missiles and ballistic missiles towards the state of Israel. Together with our allies and partners across the region, we are operating at this very moment to defend Israel from Iran's attack. So far, we have intercepted the vast majority of incoming missiles by Israeli systems. So far, we have intercepted and are continuing to intercept dozens of attack drones as well as cruise missiles and ballistic missiles outside of Israel's border. A number of Iranian missiles fell inside Israeli territory, causing minor damage to a military base with no
आपको लगता होगा इतना सारा काम मोदी कर रहा है तो ये मोदी थकता क्यों नहीं है? भ्रष्टाचारी कान खोल करके सुन ले,
ये मोदी नहीं आया, 140 करोड़ देशवासियों का भ्रष्टाचारियों के प्रति गुस्सा निकल करके आया है। साथियों, ये मोदी से इसलिए नाराज है क्योंकि मोदी आज देश के गांव गरीब के साथ चट्टान की तरह खड़ा है।
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand, brings you the latest breaking news updates from across the country only on Republic TV. And I am Rakshita Mishra.
घोषणा पत्र में मोदी जी ने कहा है कि हम पूरे देश में यूसीसी को लागू कराएंगे। पूरे देश में विधानसभा और लोकसभा के चुनाव एक साथ कराए जाएंगे। वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन जमीन पर लाएंगे।
From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 10, powered by Reva University, Policy Bazaar, Kuchina.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time now for the nation's sharpest opinion. The world is on edge, ladies and gentlemen. Israel says it will extract a price from Iran when the time is right. America has increased its deployment and moved troops to the Middle East. Iran's attack on Israel, whether in retaliation of the attack on its consulate in Damascus or in retaliation towards a trigger they have waited for, has destabilized the entire region. As I see it, this is a significant moment because Iran, which has through time since its establishment as the Islamic Republic of Iran in 1979, never got into a direct escalation with Israel. And in that case, this is a first. But to think that Netanyahu will not go with the advice of his war cabinet to respond, to think that he will cave in despite the US being very proactive since the attack, is also hoping against hope. He's also under political pressures, domestic pressure. My view is that there will be an Israeli response in some form. But the larger concern is whether this moment will trigger a World War III. Because let's remember, both World War I and World War II began as regional conflagrations between nations. World War I was between two kingdoms before becoming a full-blown international conflict. My view is that we cannot rule out an escalation. We have to watch extremely closely because on both sides are very, very militarized and very, very determined nations. Let's take a look.
Iran launched an unprecedented attack on Israel. It fired around 350 projectiles at Israel, bringing in a new phase of tension, uncertainty and confrontation in the Middle East. The attack was in response to a suspected Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate in Damascus earlier this month.
اینه که قدردان ارزش اقدام مسئولانه و متناسب جمهوری اسلامی ایران باشند و به جای انتخاب الفاظ و عبارات نامتناسب.
Hours after the attack, 17 Indians on board Israeli-linked vessel were captured by Iran.
Yesterday night, I spoke to my Iranian counterpart. We are making the point to the Iranian government that these people should be released, that they should not be detained. You know, I would absolutely press for these people to come back to India.
Israel has accused Iran of spreading terror.
On Saturday, Iran itself overtook a Portuguese boat. And on that Portuguese boat, because it's an international trading route, there are 17 Indian sailors on it that are now being held by Iran. They're terrorizing the region. They're terrorizing, other countries as well.
India shares deep strategic ties with Israel and Iran for decades, and it has been able to balance between the two sides. Israel happens to be one of the biggest defense suppliers to India. The partnership between the two countries has upscaled ever since Prime Minister Modi came to power. On the other hand, India's relationship with Iran is older. The Islamic nation, one of India's prime oil supplier. Is the Israel-Iran war a new headache for India? Is India caught in the middle again? Let's debate.
I have with me the deputy spokesperson of the Foreign Affairs Ministry of Israel, Alex Gandler, with me to start tonight. Mr. Gandler, in this case, how do you view things panning out? Your technology has been very effective against the Iranian missile attack, but the Iranians are unlikely to let go. They are also a very determined nation, very militarized. What options are you looking at if you were to look at the next 1 week or 2 days, 2 weeks, for example?
Well, first of all, Arnab, shalom from Jerusalem. Yes, I'm standing here on my balcony, to be honest. I'm standing here exactly where I stood on Saturday morning at around 1:40 in the morning, looking upwards at the sky and seeing projectiles shot over Jerusalem. This was definitely an escalation, the first time ever in the history of the relations between Israel and Iran. And we did have good relations in the past prior to the Islamic Revolution. That Iran has launched an attack, a direct attack from its territory to Israel. Luckily, we are protected by layers of defense and also by layers of strategical diplomatic defense with our partners internationally and regionally. Looking at the future, we're keeping all our options open at the moment. We are listening to all sides. We're talking with our American friends who are a strategic partner, and we're thinking about how we should respond to this. A response will be needed because such an attack is unprecedented. Not only for Israel, this is probably the largest bombardment of aerial drones and ballistic missiles on any country, 300 altogether, some of them very large ICBMs. So such an attack cannot go unchallenged.
Two follow-ups. First, Alex, you are saying that this cannot go unchallenged, but the Iranian attack was in response to the Israeli airstrikes, destroying the Iranian embassy's consular annex in Damascus. I think that happened on the 1st, and it killed or wounded everyone inside. So Iran says that this bombardment of theirs is only a response to the April 1st airstrike. So in a way, it's 1-1. Why take this further?
Well, first of all, I can't comment or relate to any such bombardment. From my understanding, it wasn't a consular annex. As someone who has served in diplomatic missions abroad, I'm very well aware of how you describe a consulate or an embassy. From my understanding, that building was a building that wasn't part of the Iranian embassy. But 1-1 is not something that we're counting. I don't think that any nation across the world would have stood still if its land was targeted with 300 missiles, drones, ICBMs, cruise missiles, and so on. This is an unproportional response or attack by Iran. By the way, in the past, if we're mentioning diplomatic missions, please allow me to talk a bit about history. In 1990, Iran bombed the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires. In the 2000s, most Indian viewers might probably remember the explosion in one of our diplomats' car, injuring his wife, who is receiving treatment to this day. In 1994, the explosion of the Amia building in Buenos Aires as well. And the 2012 explosion that killed Israeli tourists in Bulgaria, all carried by Iran and its proxies, Hezbollah.
Alex, do you think Israel is taking on everyone together? You have a situation, already vis-a-vis the situation in Gaza. You have an escalating and long-drawn response from Israel there. Now you're taking on Iran. They say that in conflict you should not take on all your enemies and potential enemies in one go. But that's what Israel seems to be doing.
Yes, so now, first of all, you're right. Opening many fronts is strategically against what Clausewitz said, and I think many generals understand that as well. But let's analyze this for a second. Are we opening different fronts, or is it the same front? When we're talking about Iran, the way Iran has been operating since the Iran-Iraq war, their strategic understanding was not to fight a war on their soil. Hence, that they developed a strategy of using proxies. So let's talk about the Middle East and what surrounds Israel. To the north of us in Lebanon, we have Hezbollah. To the east, Syria and Iraq, we have Hezbollah and Hezbollah Tahrir and other factions. You have them also in Afghanistan and Pakistan, where Iran is operating proxies. Houthis in Yemen and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas are also funded by Iran in Gaza. So if there is a war, and there has been a Cold War with Iran for many decades now, it has become a bit warmer. The fact that they have decided to bomb Israel and shoot all those rockets at us is just an escalation on their part. We're not looking at different fronts. We're talking about one front, about Iran, and it's not just Israel. You saw probably that during Saturday, a coalition of nations stood up to Iran and what it is doing. It's not just against Israel. What we're seeing is something, belligerency against the entire world. We are just the victim of this specific action. But at the end of the day, the destabilization is all around the world. You've spoken about the ship that was captured by Iranian special forces carrying 17 Indian sailors and much more. Houthis attacking ships passing next to Yemen, and so on and so forth. This is Iran waging a war against many nations, not just against Israel.
Alex, thank you very much. We'll keep following up from Republic. Thank you very much. That's Alex Gandler, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also joined by General Bakshi right now, and Colonel Jonathan Conricus of the Israeli Defense Force, IDF. Along with them is Fatemi Karim Khan, senior journalist live from Tehran in Iran, and Babak Herawi, journalist and political analyst of the Middle East and Iran. He's joining us from Los Angeles. Babak, if I can start with you, you heard the deputy spokesperson of the Israeli Foreign Ministry saying there that Iran is opening up fronts. It's much more than it seems. It is not a response to the April 1st attack. He seems to suggest that this is the Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthi, everybody and their whoever they were proxies for coming out in front and taking on Israel directly. Babak, where do you see this going and your response to what you may have just heard?
Hi to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. What is happening right now is another scene of a play that began 45 years ago. This is nothing new. Every other year, some such clash through proxies, through different countries in Argentina, here and there, has been going on. And the problem at this moment is not Iran, but this is the Islamic Republic regime running the country in Iran. See what I mean? If we cannot separate these two elements, we will never get to the right response at this moment. Any coalition at this time, join together, come together, put all the efforts together, can topple and overthrow such regime, which in its own last election, the turnaround was almost 5%. See what I mean? Is an unwanted child. If we can do that without even shooting a missile, without even killing a person, we can bring peace back to the Middle East. This is how I look at it.
Okay, Babak, before I go to Colonel Jonathan Conricus, Fatime, 350 missiles and drones fired on Israel. Iran says this was a retaliation to a single attack in Damascus. But the scale of the attack has surprised people. Is Iran looking at a full-fledged war? Does Iran see itself as the leader of the Muslim world against Israel?
Of course not.
Yes.
Of course not. Nobody here looking for a war. Nobody here looking for a war. Please be careful about your words. We are not the nation who is looking for a war. We didn't start anything here. It was the Israeli army who destroyed a building, who destroyed a diplomatic building, who killed several of Iranian people outside our country, outside Iran. It is not it is not a problem of who they are working for or what was the names or what was their relation to the government. They killed some of Iranian nationality people. And there should be a revenge. There should be a reaction. There should be an answer. There should be a reaction to these kind of things. We cannot just sit here and see what they are doing against our people. Our Islamic Republic government is not something against Iran, against Iranian people. It may do something that we do not like here or there, but it has a rule. It has it is the definition of a government to protect their people. And if Israeli people are not happy with what is happening in their country, they have to show this. They have to go and show their disagreement with this politics.
No, I'm just surprised at the scale of the response. Colonel Jonathan, let me draw you in here. Why do you think Israel has come out in the Iran has come out in the open directly? So far, of course, there were the proxies, the Hezbollah, Houthi. They were working through proxies, but now there's a direct attack. What is the strategic intention here? And what is Israel going to say, okay, we are going to hold ourselves back? Or is it going to wait for timing? Can it afford to escalate it further and take on everybody at the same time?
Right. Thank you for having me. So those are two distinct questions. I'll start with the second one, with what Israel is going to do. I think what Israel is going to do is respond at a timing, location, and intensity of Israel's choosing. It doesn't have to be immediate, and it doesn't have to be against specific targets. Israel has a very wide and diversified toolbox when it comes to dealing with Iran. Up until now, yes, we have been fighting their proxies, the Iranians, very cowardly, have been sending forward Palestinians, Lebanese, Yemenites, Syrians, and what have you, in order to fight against Israel. We are still busy fighting them, by the way. And I can tell you that I myself was surprised that the Iranians actually found the courage to step out of the convenience of the shadows and actually attack Israel straight on. Their attack was a failure, and we were able to successfully defend and intercept more than 99% of all of the incoming missiles, drones, and rockets that were fired from Iran, which I am not sure that the guest from Iran is aware of, because this is being censored in Tehran by the oppressive media, or the oppressive regime against the media. But bottom line is that I think that we will see in the imminent future, not maybe tonight and not maybe tomorrow night, an Israeli response, because obviously such an attack against Israel cannot go unchecked, especially not when it's from a regime that for 44 years have been chanting and forcing their people to chant death to Israel, death to America, death to the UK. I don't know if they've been saying bad things about India as well, but I know for certain that it's been a lot of death wishes to other countries. Of course, we cannot let this slide, and we must respond to this type of aggression.
General Bakshi, where do you see this going forward now?
Arnab, there has been a paradigm shift in the situation in the Middle East, as the other speakers have very rightly highlighted. So far, Iran was fighting through its proxies, the 3 H's, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, and the Shia militias in Syria and Iraq. Now it has chosen to fight directly, and from what we learned from Iranian sources, they are saying it is in retaliation for the attack on their consulate compound in Syria, where a number of their top military officials have been killed. Total 11 have been killed in that particular strike. And therefore, they wanted to sort of, the United States did a lot to try and deter them, to make them recalculate, recalibrate. The American Central Command Chief, Corilla, he personally came down to Israel. Another aircraft carrier was sent in to deter Iran. The fact is, Iran has not been deterred. And about 320 to 350, there are various estimates, some 170 drone strikes, Shahid class. Then there were the cruise missiles, about 35, and then there were about 120 ballistic missiles which have been launched. Iran says it has struck the 2 air bases from where the Novavim air base in southern Israel, from which it claims that Israel had launched the air attack onto its embassy. So that base has been hit, and they are claiming the major damage. The Israelis tell us that the damage has been very slight. One girl, I understand, poor girl, has been killed, and about 12 people wounded total in this strike, right? It came in 3 waves. The Israeli air defense was superb. It is one of the best in the world, and it was aided by the Americans and the British and the French, who used their fighter aircraft to shoot down the drones as they came. Israel claims that the drones were just a decoy, and they have hit the targets that they wanted. They got through despite these defenses, and they are saying that $1.3 billion have been spent by Israel in this defense, whereas they have spent very little in turn. But they are saying they have finished, and the next move is on Israel. Now, to my reckoning, Israel will respond, though the Americans are putting heavy pressure. Let's be quite straightforward. They do not want Israel to escalate. They are saying you were able to shoot down 97 to 98% of the projectiles, and therefore you should take it as a victory and call it off, because if you give a retaliatory strike, there will be follow-up strikes from Iran. And once this escalatory spiral starts, there is no saying where it will end. It's extremely dangerous, very, very dangerous situation there. And therefore, like our external affairs ministers just spoke to you, there is need for calm, there is need for patience. I personally think Israel will retaliate because of its own public opinion pressure. but that based upon American pressure, that may take a covert form. They have done covert attacks earlier onto Israel.
But you know,
they have done the Setbacks attacks on their
General
facilities.
General Bakshi, but General Bakshi, I think what Iran is not clear about, and Fatime, don't mind my saying it, you are on very uncertain ground here. And Fatime Karim Khan in Tehran, I'll bring in my own take here. Fighting a proxy war and fighting a real war are very different. You, as a country, you are experts at fighting proxy wars. Everything for you is a proxy war. Hezbollah is a proxy war. Your support to the Hezbollah is a proxy war. Your support to the Hamas is a proxy war. You may have been celebrating when the 7th October attack happened on Israel. It was a proxy war. Israel did not attack Tehran. But Tehran was behind the attack on the 7th of October. What you are doing by encouraging piracy in the open seas with the Houthis, 1 minute, with the Houthis is a proxy war. You tell the Houthis to fire ballistic missiles at Israeli resorts. You tell the Houthis to capture ships. Even the Indian Navy had to respond once or twice and 3 times and teach the Houthis a lesson. My point being to you, Fatima Haji, is that you are using Syria, you are using Hamas, Houthi, Hezbollah, but you're not fighting a war yourself. Now you're saying we'll fight the war ourselves. Are you ready? Because your first attack on Israel has failed. So I don't know whether it will work, and I want you to tell Babak, for example, why you would. No, you know, this is your proxy. Everything is yours.
I am not a spokesperson for the Iranian government. I am not a spokesperson for anyone. I just spoke a professional journalism idea here. So I'm not speaking about what Iran is going to do or what it had done before. What I'm saying is, Iran as a country has every right to protect its people outside and inside the country. We have seen several terrorist attacks from Israelis inside and outside Iran against our scientists.
Are you protecting your people by? Are you protecting your people by? 1 minute. I'll get Babak Heravi into this. Babak, is Iran protecting its people by supporting the Hamas, by supporting and financing the Houthis, by supporting piracy in the open seas?
They're killing their own
Babak
people.
Heravi, responding to Fatemi.
They are starving their own people by just sending the hard-earned currency to all these terrorist groups from Africa, Boko Haram, name it, Ketaib. In Iraq, there are 3 types of these groups. Al-Najaib, Al-Ketaib, whatever. You go to Yemen, you go to Syria. War in Syria was financed by the Islamic Republic. Okay? There is a reason when the inflation in Iran right now at this moment is over 10,000%. What is the reason? Because all the hard-earned money is being pumping through all the channels to the terrorists to purchase, to buy arms, to buy like ammunition, to buy all the equipment, explosives, and kill innocent people. It's as simple as that. There's nothing around it. Islamic Republic is not protecting its citizens.
You cannot blame Iran for whatever happened in and outside the regime. It is not. Iran is not responsible for whatever terroristic attack inside and outside.
That's what she said. That's not the reality.
There is some ties.
That's not the reality, ma'am. No. This is the regime's propaganda you're repeating. This is a parrot style. No. When Iran is financing, Qasem Soleimani was the head of financier of all the terrorist groups in Iraq, all Shia Muslims. When your own minister said, at the time of Saddam was saying, we just purchased thousands of bombs. His interview is out there, and we distributed all over southern Iraq before the war. This is terrorism. This is spreading terrorism. This is bedding for terrorism, for killing innocent people.
Are we going to speak about what is happening right now between Iran and Israel, or we are going to repeat the 44-year history?
Why do you go to a consulate? You tell me, what is a consulate? Why a person would go to a consulate? To obtain visa, to get legal help, to get help to go back to his country, etc., etc. What are eight high-ranking IRGC generals are doing in that
Iranian people
consulate?
Outside the country?
What are they doing there? What are they cooking there? Is it what terror?
The reason is,
Syria is not our country, man.
Sorry, let me finish.
You are not answering.
For whatever the reason, Iranian nationalities are outside the country or inside. For whatever reason, no other country has the right to kill them.
Hold on a second. Do you know what IRGC stands for? IRGC. Do you know what does it stand for? Huh? Islamic Republic Guard Corps. There's no Iran in it. Okay? IRGC, the moment established, its name is Sepah, Pasdaran Enqilab Islami.
The debate is not about Iran's history. The debate is not about Iran's history.
Let me just get in Colonel Jonathan in this, please. Colonel Jonathan, if I can get you into this now. Colonel Jonathan, we were waiting for, the world is waiting for the situation in the Middle East to settle down. And this is going to cause a lot of global concern. Therefore, the Americans will put in pressure as well. This is not good for the global economy if this conflict truly escalates and spins out of control. So have the Americans managed to convince you to pull back a little? You can make the statements but not take it any further?
Yeah, I think that sometimes, when you have a bad tooth, you need to endure some pain in order to get it out. And the fact that you're going to endure some pain with the dentist doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It is a necessary minor evil in order to deal with the bad situation. And in this metaphor, the bad situation is Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran. Its actions, its state sponsoring of terror, its belligerent activities across the entire Middle East, specifically against Israel, but not only in Israel, overturning local regimes in Iraq, strifing sectarian violence in Syria and in Lebanon, and fueling civil war in Yemen, and of course funding terrorist organizations in Gaza. So the fact that many people prefer quiet now, I think, when there's a problem, when your tooth is aching, you don't want quiet. You want to take care of the issue, and you want to make sure that it doesn't become any worse. That's where we are now. That's where Israel is. And for all of the people who are telling Israel that you must, or that you should exercise caution and restraint, we have been extremely restrained for decades. For 44 years, the mullahs in Iran have been screaming death to Israel. And for many decades, they have been arming and equipping terror organizations against us. Many Israeli civilians have died at the hands of Iranian weapons provided to Hamas, Hezbollah, and others. And I think that enough is enough. Israel needs to break free of this noose of terror organizations that Iran has funded and placed along our borders. And it is high time that we take the opportunity now, when finally Iran has summoned the courage to step out of the shadows, to actually confront Iran. There are many targets in Iran, and there are many things that Israel can do. And what I would think that Israel will be doing is either going after the nuclear program or going after Iran's capacity to continue to fund these malign terrorist activities across the Middle East, so as they're sourcing equipment, for instance, ports where oil is exported from and petrochemical products are exported from, by the way, violating international sanctions. And maybe that will be a target. But whatever happens, I do not think that Israel will let this slide. Whatever
countries and organizations and even our closest friends will tell us and ask us to do. I think that once Iran fired 350 rockets and missiles, we crossed that Rubicon, and this aggression must be met with a firm, clear Middle Eastern response.
Well, this without doubt is going to escalate. Viewers, for those thinking of this as new, look at it another way. What is happening now is only a formalization of what has been a battle ongoing between Israel and Iran. It is just that Iran has worked through proxies so far, and now it is coming out in the open. But when it does, governments and militaries get involved, so it takes on a very different dimension from when Iran can blame it on non-state actors. Viewers, I'll take a quick 30-second Securite commercial break. See you on the other side. Thanks to all my guests. Thank you.
Kane, sir, your dinner.
On a tile?
It's antibacterial.
Easy to clean.
But plates?
Kane bhai, it's a tile ad.
IM Plus टेक्नोलॉजी से बने वर्ल्ड क्लास टाइल्स. टाइल हो तो सिंपल हो.
You can sense the excitement.
पता नहीं क्रिकेट का फ्यूचर कैसा होगा, पर सीलिंग फैंस का फ्यूचर पता है, बिकॉज इट्स ऑलरेडी हियर. ओरिएंट एरोस्लिम विथ रिवर्स रोटेशन मोड जो इंप्रूव करे एयर सर्कुलेशन. ओरिएंट BLDC फैन, द फ्यूचर.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. A Pakistani underworld don who killed Indian national Sarabjit Singh in jail was assassinated by two unknown gunmen, completely unknown gunmen in Lahore on Sunday. He was attacked by the motorcycle-borne unknown assailants at his home in the Islampura area of Lahore. While the motive behind the shootout remains a mystery, Pakistan has squarely blamed India, calling it a targeted killing. Take a look at the developments so far before our last debate on the unknown gunmen who have killed this terrorist.
11 years after Indian prisoner Sarabjit Singh died in Pakistan jail after being brutally assaulted by prisoners. Amir Sarfaraz Tamba, accused in the murder of Sarabjit Singh, was shot dead by unidentified gunmen in Lahore on Sunday.
इन्होंने पापा पे उस टाइम पे हमला करके उनको बुरी तरह से घायल कर दिया था जेल में. उसके बाद उनकी वहाँ पर मौत हो गई थी पाकिस्तान की जेल में ही. उनमें से एक जो शख्स था उसको कल गोलियों से मार के उसकी हत्या की गई है. कुछ मीर सरफराज, जिस पे मैं यही कहना चाहती हूँ कि जैसे हम कहते हैं कि कर्मों का फल यहीं पर ही मिलता है, ये उसके कर्मों का ही फल है. लेकिन इसके साथ ही मुझे लगता है एक बहुत बड़ी साजिश भी है ये पाकिस्तान की ही सरकार की तरफ से, क्योंकि ऐसे हो सकता है बहुत सारे राज हों जो उनको लगता हो कि बाहर ना आ जाएं दुनिया के सामने.
Tamba was a close associate of Lashkar-e-Taiba founder Hafiz Saeed. Sources say Tamba enjoyed all facilities during his jail term. Pakistan has blamed India behind the attack on Amir Sarfaraz.
मैं कल इंडिया में देख रहा था, एग्जैक्टली इस तरह का इंसिडेंट हुआ हुआ है. वहाँ तो इतना बड़ा हमने नहीं देखा कि उन्होंने उसको, एग्जैक्टली इसी तरह का इंसिडेंट हुआ है. आप देख लें, मैं आपके साथ वो शेयर कर लूँगा क्लिप. लेकिन हमने उसको 15 दिन से 10 दिन से उसको इतना बड़ा इशू बना दिया कि क्या हो गया.
This even as the world has rejected Pakistan's claim.
I've been following the media reports about this issue. We don't have any comment on the underlying allegations, but of course, while we're not going to get in the middle of this situation, we encourage both sides to avoid escalation and find a resolution through dialogue.
Why is Pakistan shifting the blame on India for alleged targeted killings? Let's debate.
Sundus Mustaqeen is a Pakistani journalist from Islamabad taking on Gaurav Arya. Ms. Mustaqeen, can you tell us why the Pakistani terrorists, the Pakistani criminals are in the middle of these gang wars these days? You know, one gang killing another gang, one gang member killing another gang member, one terrorist killing another terrorist. We have seen increased killings by terrorists of terrorists. So how do you analyze this? Why is this happening?
Lucy, thank you for having me in your program. And you said terrorists are killing terrorists. Is this making any sense when we say terrorists are killing terrorists? If this is the case, this is I would say the lucky case ever. If terrorists has been killing terrorists, I think we are accusing and blaming India, and it's not just Pakistan who's blaming India of killing people in our country, but actually 4 countries, including Pakistan, the USA, the Canada, and even the Great Britain. All these 4 countries are accusing and blaming India for the target killings. You know, the Canadian Prime Minister is on the same view. The US State Department is on the same view. Even the investigation are going on in UK as well, right? It's not only Pakistan who's blaming India for these killings, actually. So 3 other different countries.
You're saying that we are, but you have no proof.
According to the international media,
there is no proof of this. There is
all are saying
there has to be some proof behind this. This new theory that you are putting out, every day coming up with a new theory that India is involved in killing this person.
Singh has said this with so much of confidence. Actually, at one time, at one side, your foreign minister has been denying, and on the other side, on the flip side, your defense minister Rajnath Singh is on the same way with so much of confidence that yes, we are killing and we will keep on killing people inside the country in Pakistan. So I think
he's not said that. Let me tell you. One minute. Rajnath Singh has said. Rajnath Singh ji has said. No. Sundar ji, Rajnath Singh ji has said कि हम घर में घुसकर मारते हैं.
Exactly.
हम
मारेंगे.
Gaurav will explain, and I can. Gaurav can explain. एक मिनट.
Even your PM has said that India is not the same. Having so much of power means indirectly he's predicting that yes, we can do that. He is admitting actually that yes, we can do that, and it's not admitting actually that yes, we can do that.
Yes, we can do that, and we have done it. We have.
Canada, not to Great Britain.
No, we have done it, but
2019, India is on.
If you are saying that
it's moved towards the target killings of either Sikh leaders or Pakistani so-called terrorists or whatsoever.
No.
So India is now habitual of killing people, and USA and Pakistan and whatsoever. You know, the Khalistan Tehreek, India is killing people, Sikh leaders in USA and even the New York, and you just denied when it comes to such a.
No, it's all right. If you feel this way, I have a Sundarji. If you feel this way, if you genuinely feel this way, I'll pass it on to Gaurav to respond to you. देखिए ये तो कोई दो राय नहीं है सुंदर जी. गौरव भी आपको कहेंगे कि हम कहते हैं कि ये नया भारत है, हम मारते हैं, हम घर में घुसकर मारते हैं. नया भारत है, हम अप्रोच है कि हम घर में घुसकर मारते हैं, जैसे हमने बालाकोट में मारा, हमने मारा. आप नहीं मगर ये जो छोटी मोटी घटनाएं आपके यहाँ हो रही है उसके साथ हमारा क्या लेना देना. गौरव विल रिस्पॉन्ड टू यू. गौरव उस्मा करदार ऑफ द PMLN इज ऑल्सो देयर. You know, would you like to respond to this view of the Pakistanis that we are killing their terrorists on their soil?
No, Arnab, I don't think we are killing anybody. And whatever action we have taken, this ghar mein ghus ke marna, it relates to Balakot and the surgical strikes. That is point number 1. Point number 2, have you realized one thing very funny?
Correct.
Harjeet Singh Nijjar dies, and as very rightly brought out by the Pakistani panelist, you know, everybody gets very offended that India has done it. Everybody. But when the Americans are asked about the Pakistanis, 20 Pakistanis getting killed, the Americans say we have no comment. So basically in the world, nobody cares if Pakistanis die. Have you noted this? The American spokesperson said, we don't know anything about this, we don't want to comment. One Canadian citizen dies, everybody is very conscious, though they don't have proof. Till now, so many months have passed, but Justin Trudeau has not offered 1% proof. He should have given the proof. He should have so-called quote-unquote exposed India in front of everybody.
Yeah.
You see, they should have done it. And the Pakistanis should do it. But they're not doing it. But 20 Pakistanis get killed. Madam, just hold on. Ma'am, just hold on. Allow me to. Ma'am, you should not interfere. When you were speaking, I kept quiet. So, ma'am, have a little bit of manners, ma'am. This is an Indian TV channel, not a Pakistani channel. Hold on. So, essentially what has happened is, no, don't do this. It's coming to you right now. Hold on. So, what has happened is, in Pakistan's case, when the American spokesperson was asked, what are your comments? The Pakistanis are saying, according to this Guardian story, that the Indians have so-called killed 20 Pakistanis. And he said, I don't care. Nobody cares about dead Pakistanis. I mean, even Pakistanis don't care about dead Pakistanis. They are creating a hue and cry about 20 Pakistanis killed. More than 80,000 Pakistanis have been killed by Pakistanis in terror attacks and they don't care. So, Arnab, this is just a sham. You can ask both the ladies on the screen. It's just a sham. This is just Pakistan's excuse of asking money from India. In the end, they'll ask money. हम चुप हो जाएंगे, आप थोड़ा सा पैसे दे दीजिए. अभी शहबाज शरीफ गया था वहां पे भीख मांगने के लिए सऊदी अरेबिया. They're going to end up asking money, Arnab. That is their national expertise. ये एक ही काम में फिट है ये लोग पैसा मांगने के. ये मांगने वाले हैं पैसा. कहीं आपके शो में ना मांग ले, मुझे डर लग रहा है. आप पूछ लीजिए अर्नब अगर चाहिए तो. Madam, आपसे बात नहीं कर रहा मैं. I'm talking to Arnab. Arnab is the anchor of the show. I'm talking to Arnab.
I want to bring in Uzma Kardar. I want to bring in Uzma ji. 1 minute. Let me bring in Uzma ji. Uzma ji, see, making allegations against India that we are killing your terrorists. I was speaking to the foreign minister about a week back, the Indian foreign minister, and he said, and he rightly said, who are these people who Pakistanis are complaining are being killed? Inka biodata kya hai? What is their profile? Who are they? Are they businessmen? Are they diplomats? Are they bureaucrats? Or are they all terrorists? This is something, Uzma ji, you must also think about. You see, everyone in the world is asking you. You are going around the world saying that you've killed our terrorists, you've killed our terrorists. Nobody is responding to you. First of all, therefore, my first point which I want you to respond is, there is no moral argument here. You can go to London, you can go to Ottawa, you can go to Auckland and say, our own terrorists, हमारे अपने जितने terrorists हैं, उनको कोई मार रहा है. तो लोग तो आपको कहेंगे जो भी मार रहा है उनको आपको थैंक यू कहना चाहिए. मगर आप कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं कि हमारे अपने टेररिस्ट जिनको हमने पनाह दी, जिनको हमने इतनी सपोर्ट दी, इतनी ट्रेनिंग दी, इंडिया भेजा, वापस लाए, खिलाया पिलाए, उनको मारा जा रहा है. तो लोग आपको कहेंगे यू शुड बी थैंकिंग पीपल. योर बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम उस्मा जी टुडे इज टेररिज्म. So whoever is killing your terrorists, I'm not saying there is one person, one individual, one country, one company. But you should be grateful to them. But you're not even grateful, you are complaining. That's point number one. Point number two, and you can respond to both, you are saying we are behind it. If you say that we are behind it, you have to come to us. You have to go through the diplomatic channels. You have to file a proper complaint, send it through the diplomatic channels, take it through the bureaucratic channels, let it go through the police channels and the investigative channels. It may take about 10-20 years, but we'll get back to you. जैसे आप करते थे ना 26/11 के बाद कि आप हमें रिस्पॉन्ड कीजिए, हमें इंफॉर्मेशन दीजिए. हम, believe me, we will get back to you. Maybe not in 2024, by 2034, 2044, 2054, we will respond to you. But you must have belief in the system. So first thing, first question, why don't you thank the people who are killing your terrorists? And second, why don't you take it through the proper channels?
Okay.
Yeah, sort of
now,
for the moment, yes. Yes.
I think that, the Indian side is now so frustrated that they just want to pile the blame of everything that goes wrong in their own country on other people. You people should actually worry about your image in the world. Internationally, everybody is now saying that India is exporting terrorism in different parts of the world. And you have Justin Trudeau in Canada, you have the US officials in the State Department.
Delusional.
They have Justice Trudeau on the floor of the Parliament has said that we will not allow anybody to hit any of our citizens on our own soil. And Harjit Singh and other Sikhs have been targeted. And you people have not cooperated in any kind of investigation, and you have not even, cooperated in the US plan to assassinate a US citizen on their soil. the State Department wanted you to cooperate in the investigation, and they said that we have uncovered an assassination plot which you people made, which Raw made in the US. But you guys are totally, you have your head, under the sand, and you are totally denying the export of terrorism. In Pakistan, this has been going on for years now. It's been going on for decades. What about Kulbhushan? Who was Kulbhushan? Where was he found? And what was he up to? So, this is there have been about 20 targeted killings. And we have the same pattern we see now in Amit Tamba's death also.
Targeted killings of whom? No, Uzma ji, let me put the question to you that the Honorable Foreign Minister was asking me. He said, Arnab, next time you're with a Pakistani panelist, you ask them, who are these people? You have said 20 targeted killings. Uzma ji, can you tell me the biodata? Can you tell me the biodata of these 20 eminent citizens?
Recent ones.
Who are these 20 people?
Who was the leader of Jaish Muhammad in Dashka? He was, he was accused of the Pathankot incident. He was targeted, and then
you are supporting a Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist on my program. You are supporting a Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorist on my program. Even if he's dead, you should not support him.
Have the guts.
Even if he's dead, you should not support him.
To what we have to say also.
You are supporting the Jaish-e-Mohammed.
To you and to Major Gaurav. Now you listen to what we have to say. In June 2021, there was a car bombing
I'm just surprised that you are supporting a terrorist group so openly.
And there were multiple casualties there. Multiple casualties there. And Raw was involved in that as well. So we have evidence. We have evidence. The point is that you people keep denying. You people don't cooperate. We are very sure there is an investigation going on. Our interior minister today had a press conference in which he said that this time again the pattern is the same. And we feel that there is suspicion on India, on Raw, that they are involved in his killing as well.
That is why Imran Khan on the floor of the parliament called Osama bin Laden a Shaheed. You should ask them.
Let her speak.
So now you have to answer to the whole world. It's not just Pakistan that you have to answer to. You have to answer to all these other countries where you are carrying on these terrorist activities. You are killing people left, right and center.
Why was your country in FATF 4 times? Please answer my question.
You are killing 6 all over the place.
Please answer my question. Why were you on FATF?
Come out in
4 times FATF
millions and say that we want Khalistan. We don't want
you are terrorists yourself.
You kill them.
Uzma ji.
You kill all their leaders.
Madam Uzma ji, you are just an English speaking terrorist. You see, you are in the FATF for 4 times. Why are you being put in FATF 4 times? Because you support terrorism.
That's a problem. We are out of the list. That's another slap in your face. That is another reason why you guys are so frustrated.
You have been in FATF. You seem to be very proud of it. आप तो कहते हैं मैं एक बार और डालो. आपको तो मजे आने लगे हैं टेररिज्म से.
हम तो है नहीं ना. आप प्रॉब्लम है आप लोगों ने प्रोपेगेंडा प्रोपेगेंडा किया पूरी दुनिया में. आपका प्रोपेगेंडा उल्टा पड़ गया. वो तो आपकी उल्टी पड़ गई सब तकदीरें. और हम तो हमें FATF से हम निकल गए ग्रे लिस्ट से. तो अब आपको बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है. You don't know what to do next. Nobody is listening. The world is not listening to you anymore because you're exporting terrorism to the whole world.
की ग्रे लिस्ट में थे कि नहीं? आप FATF की ग्रे लिस्ट में 4 बार थे कि नहीं? हाँ या ना?
अरे भाई वो आप लोगों के प्रोपेगेंडा की वजह से
मत करिए. हाँ या ना बोलिए.
दुनिया में जाके लॉबिंग करते हैं. आप खरीदते हैं लोगों को जाके बाहर और उनसे ये स्टेटमेंट्स दिलवाते हैं पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ. एवरीबॉडी नोज दैट.
पाकिस्तानियों की जो अपने बच्चों से झूठ बोलते हैं ये लोग. अपनी गलत हिस्ट्री पढ़ाते हैं.
अरे आप पूरी दुनिया से जाके झूठ बोलते हैं. आपको पैसे खिलाते हैं और उनसे झूठ बुलवाते हैं. लेकिन आप देख लें अपना ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड क्या है. आप ह्यूमन राइट्स वायलेशंस करते हैं पूरी दुनिया में. आपको पता चल गया. आप ह्यूमन राइट्स का जो कमेटी है उसकी रिपोर्ट्स पढ़ने जाते हैं. आपको पता चल जाएगा क्या आप इंडिया का वहां पे
नॉन टेररिस्ट फेस एवरीबॉडी नोज पाकिस्तान इज अ टेररिस्ट कंट्री 4 बार ग्रे लिस्ट में
no that is something which is this has come back directly to India now. The whole world knows Pakistan does not
Osama bin Laden शहीद है कि नहीं है?
in any other country.
शहीद है कि नहीं है?
They do not violate the laws of any other sovereign
Osama bin
country.
Laden शहीद है कि नहीं
India
है?
that is doing it.
Osama bin
India is
Laden शहीद है कि
violating
नहीं
the
है?
laws of
Osama bin
the
Laden
US.
शहीद
India
है
is
कि नहीं है?
violating the laws of Canada. India is violating the
Osama bin
laws
Laden
of
शहीद है कि
UK.
नहीं है? बताओ.
And they are
Any
murdering
Uzma ji,
people
Uzma
left,
ji.
right and
क्या
center.
Osama bin Laden
Uzma ji.
शहीद है?
Everybody knows that. Pakistan
Uzma
doesn't
ji,
do that. Pakistan
Uzma
is
ji,
not known for this
Uzma ji,
anymore.
Uzma ji,
It's India that
उस्मा
is
जी
doing
हम
terrorism all
विश्वास
over
करते हैं,
the
मेरी
place.
बात सुनिए उस्मा जी. गौरव सुंदर जी, उस्मा जी, दिल्ली में हम ऐसे कहते हैं, दिल्ली में हम दिल्ली के लोग ऐसे कहते हैं उस्मा जी, हम घर में घुसकर मारेंगे. उस्मा जी हम घर में घुसकर मारेंगे, जरूर मारेंगे, अपने समय से मारेंगे, खूब मारेंगे, जैसे करोगे वैसे भरोगे. यही हमारा अप्रोच है. नया भारत, हमारा नया भारत है. अभी आप हम कितनों को मारेंगे, कब मारेंगे, सोच आपको मैं वो जी. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan extremely concerned about the suspicious killings of terrorists on its soil. We don't know which unknown people are carrying out these unknown killings. It is all completely unknown. I'll see you tomorrow at 9. Good night and goodbye.
In the India Today Best Universities 2023 survey, India's #1 ranked universities in various streams are